Hello and welcome to NTV Weekend Edition on this Saturday, 27th April 2019, live from the Nation Center. The headlines. Tonight, the government is at pains to show SGR loans were not on the agenda in China Heads of State meeting, as officials talk up use of the old railway line from Naivasha.
This meter gauge is also an investment which was done many years ago. It is being used to transport goods to Uganda, and therefore we have to make sure that that connectivity in Naivasha, it is quickly addressed.
Also tonight,
Kambe niambie ni nini? Sharon alibleed mpaka akafaint. Na kukuwa daktari karibu.
Another family accuses St. Teresa Hospital in Kikuyu of negligence. And St. James SCK Cathedral under scrutiny.
The legal wife to this man we married in 1996 through the magistrate's court. He has not divorced me, and now he's doing a church wedding, which I understand you can't have two weddings at the same time in the constitution of this country.
As woman accuses church of allowing her husband to wed a second time despite proof of existing marriage. Also tonight, Spa attendant accuses Hadi police of complicity in freeing an accused sex pest.
Alinirusha kwa kiti. Hapo kuna kiti, nina kagonga kiti, akachukua pants zangu akazitoa.
A story of a Congolese man accused of using money to elude justice.
This is NTV Weekend Edition with Edmond Nyabola.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. To our top story. Now, the government has rejected reports that it was denied funds by the government of China to extend the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and finally to Malaba. Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma has accused the media of misreporting, saying the debate on the matter is a non-issue since the government had not planned to ask for the loan. But as NTV's Silas Apollo reports, the decision by China could now spell trouble for the Jubilee government's ambitious rail plans, with critics adding that the already constructed line also faces questions of viability.
In a tweet message sent out shortly after news broke that the country had failed to secure additional funding for the extension of the standard gauge railway, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma said the debate on the matter was misinformed. Juma accuses the media of misreporting, adding that the loan for the extension of the railway line was never a point of discussion. The statement by Juma was supported by that of the President's Chief of Staff, Nzioka Waita, who said that the stories in the local dailies were not only factually incorrect, but were damaging to the reputation of the country. Waita goes on to say that the SGR project is a regional project and the complexities in negotiating its completion involve several countries, and that the securing of financing for its completion could take several years of negotiations. Kenya is reported to have failed to secure an additional 368 billion shillings for the completion of the Naivasha-Malaba SGR. China's decision is reported to have been informed by doubts on the future prospects of the line and the collateral offered by Kenya. As a result, Kenya was offered some 40 billion shillings for the upgrade of the current railway line to a meter gauge railway. Critics have, however, pointed out that this change of plan may affect the movement of goods through the SGR line, whose capacity is said to be higher than the proposed meter gauge railway. The effect of this could be an additional cost to businesses and users of the SGR, a move some say could discourage the use of the SGR. It has also revived debates by critics of the SGR, who had proposed an upgrade of the current railway line at more affordable rates as compared to building a new railway line altogether. The government had earlier indicated that it had already secured funds for the completion of the SGR, to the dismay of critics. The National Treasury has, in its budget policy statement for 2019, suggested that the negotiations for financing had been done, but the rejections by Beijing puts to question this claim. Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia said the decision to upgrade the current line was a matter of priority as the government presses further with its call for additional funds to complete the SGR.
We have to make sure that that connectivity in Naivasha, it is quickly addressed. And one of the things we are discussing in this visit is how we can quickly close that gap in Naivasha.
But President Uhuru Kenyatta says the country still remains optimistic. Speaking at the closure of the Belt and Road Initiative, the head of state said the relationship between Kenya and China remains strong.
We are a great gateway to the African segment of the goals of the Road and Belt Initiative that stretches from Port of Mombasa to Kisumu on Lake Victoria and the East African hinterland to the ports of Kinshasa.
Sailors Apollo, NTV.
Now, staying with that story, Chinese President Xi Jinping has refuted claims by the Belt and Road Initiative critics that it seeks to financially bind countries to Beijing by way of debt trap diplomacy. Xi spoke during a meeting with 37 heads of state attending the second Belt and Road Summit. President Uhuru Kenyatta attended the President's Roundtable Summit, which is the highest level of decision-making organ of the Belt and Road Initiative, before closing the ceremony of the Belt and Road Forum. Leaders from the United Nations, International Monetary Fund, European Union, and the World Bank were also part of the closed-door summit. The leaders engaged in a discussion to see how best to ensure all countries engaged in the BRI projects benefit from the partnership. This year's conference hosted 5,000 delegates from over 150 countries, as well as 90 international organizations. So far, reports indicate that the total trade volume between China and BRI participating countries has surpassed $6 trillion US. And investment has exceeded $80 billion US. The 82 cooperation parks built by China and relevant countries have created nearly 300,000 jobs in the countries involved. During his speech at the opening forum yesterday, President Kenyatta called upon the world leaders to use Kenya as their gateway to investing in Africa.
Kenya is a founding member of the BRI because we share a common vision with China for the development and transformation of Kenya and our region. We are a great gateway to the African segment of the goals of the Road and Belt Initiative that stretches from Port of Mombasa to Kisumu on Lake Victoria and the East African hinterland to the ports of Kinshasa. In addition, the corridor stretching from Lamu to South Sudan and Ethiopia, which is referred to as the Lapset Corridor, that connects the Great North Corridor to Northern Africa. Kenya is doing its part in the delivery of the vision with modernization and completion of the Port of Mombasa and the standard gauge railway project from Mombasa to Nairobi and now to Naivasha. And we therefore call on other members of the initiative in the region to also do their part.
Back home, 2 police officers are among 5 suspects arrested by DCI detectives in connection with the theft at several Barclays Bank ATMs in Nairobi a week ago. One of them is an officer from the Rapid Deployment Unit, RDU, and he is based in Isiolo, with the other an administration police officer. The 2 are suspected of conspiring with others to steal money from the bank. NTV's Mel Miendo with that report.
Investigations into the Barclays Bank ATM robberies are at an advanced stage, with detectives having arrested 5 suspects, 2 of whom are police officers. Police Constable George Gashungui Njoroge, who is stationed in Isiolo, and Administration Police Officer John Otieno were arrested over their alleged involvement in the 14.5 million shilling theft in 4 of the Barclays Bank Nairobi ATMs. Others are G4S security guard Frederick Herman Okia and a taxi driver of a Toyota Probox, said to have ferried the suspects to the bank's Mata Hospital branch. On Friday evening, detectives from the DCI's Economic Crimes Unit arrested another G4S security guard, Daniel Orero Okinda, suspected to have aided in the heist at the bank's Kenya Cinema ATM branch. 4 of the suspects, including the 2 police officers, were arraigned in Kiambu. The DCI was allowed to continue holding the suspects in custody pending completion of investigations. The court allowed the 4 be detained until the 2nd of May 2019, when the application will be heard. Just this week, DCI Director General George Kinoti stated that the 14 million shilling heist at Barclays Bank was an inside job, which some employees at the bank were aware of.
If we can be talking about a place where it's supposed to have a CCTV camera, there is none, isn't it? And where there is one, somebody smears with some substance and all that, isn't it? If that camera is supposed to trigger an alarm elsewhere, they are what we call constructive breaking, constructive robbery. That is the ones which are just done by their own people. They know exactly what is happening. But I can tell you, it's only the facilitators outside there.
Detectives are conducting further investigations into the matter, with leads likely to lead to arrest of Barclays Bank officials and G4S security guards. They will be charged for offences of negligence and failing to prevent a felony. Detectives are also seeking to hold the suspects over failing to notice the interference and breach of CCTV security cameras. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Now, after NTV highlighted the mysterious death of Helen Wanjiru at St. Teresa's Hospital, another family has come forward claiming they underwent the same tragedy at the same hospital. Both families now want justice and the management of the hospital to be brought to book. NTV's Helen Aura with that report.
Elizabeth still clings to the memory of her dear daughter, as this is all she has left. 22-year-old Sharon Nyambura's life and her first child were cut short just as she was about to experience the joy of motherhood. Sharon began experiencing labor pains on the 14th of June 2018 in the evening, and that was when she was rushed to St. Teresa Hospital in Kikuyu in good health.
Kaambiwa tulipe the 400 na tu update NHIF. Nikawambia nini na tayari yake ilikuwa up to date. Hapana, hivyo ndio inafaa ifanywe. So nilipe pesa ngapi? Ulipe 3,000 up to December.
Elizabeth's maternal instincts kicked in as she could not sleep well that night. At dawn, she decided to call her daughter, but there was no response. Her calls went unanswered for some time. Distressed, she decided to call the doctor.
Mama Sharon kaambia, Sharon alirapcha maji na sasa alianza kubleed.
She decided to call her friend who accompanied her around 6:30 a.m. Upon arriving at the hospital, they were informed there was no one to attend to them by the security guard, and they took it upon themselves to find Sharon.
Kaambia niambie ni nini. Sharon alibleed mpaka akafaint. Na kukuwa daktari karibu, alishuka chini akawakosa, akaenda mpaka juu, hakuwapata, sijui aliwapatia wapi. Ndio sasa walikuja wakampeleka theater kama amefaint.
Hours later,
sema tushuke tuende huko chini for briefing. Sasa tulienda, ndio wakatuambia they are sorry. Na walipoteza wote wawili.
They decided to transfer the body to Montezuma Funeral Home, awaiting a proper send-off, as she was laid to rest on the 21st of June 2018. The family says it took 5 months to obtain the death certificate from the hospital, as they were always being taken in circles. This is not the first case from St. Teresa Hospital, with the recent one, Helen Wanjiru, who died while undergoing a cesarean section. Doctors claimed her death was a result of excessive bleeding, same as the late Sharon.
Niliambia huyo daktari, kamwambia that is 100% negligence.
Ni uchungu sana kupoteza mtoto mdogo sana. Na hospitali wanaona hiyo sio kitu kwao. Tafadhali DCI nisaidie tu.
Efforts to reach the hospital's management proved futile, as we were informed to return on a later date.
10 months down the line, Elizabeth still laments how she has been robbed the joy of being a grandmother following the death of her firstborn and first grandchild. She is seeking justice so that no other parent would have to go through what she has been through. Helen Aura, NTV.
We hope that family gets justice. Now listen to this next story. Drama unfolded today after a woman stormed a church wedding at St. James ACK Cathedral Church in Kiambu County, trying to stop a wedding of a man who she claims is her husband. NTV's Helen Wanjohi has more details.
Everybody, we went to the court.
Trouble started as soon as a bridal party entered as Anne Masagege arrived outside the church and caused a scene at a church she is all too familiar with. Anne went to seek the intervention of the St. James ACK Cathedral Church, hoping that the church would revoke the marriage after she showed them proof of an existing marriage and the accompanying certificate.
I even came on Sunday. They announced the banns of marriage. I stood up and I was called by the elders. They told me they are going to intervene. Is this the intervention?
Anne claims that Alex Masagege, the groom, had a civil wedding at Sharia House years ago, and according to her, they are still married.
I'm the legal wife to this man we married in 1996 through the magistrate's court. He has not divorced me, and now he's doing a church wedding, which I understand you can't have two weddings at the same time in the constitution of this country.
Anne claims that she and Alex have been married for 22 years and they were a happy couple living with their 2 children before Alex suddenly changed. She claims that she left him with their children fearing for her life after a case of domestic violence which left her hospitalized. However, the groom must have been aware of the plan to stop his wedding. He hired security men whose work was to stop any interference. Journalists who had gone to cover the incident were roughed up and thrown out of the church compound. Anne was also not spared.
I wasn't violent. They picked me up from the seat. I just wanted to present my case, period. Why do they have to manhandle me? I'm not, unaona kama nimebeba silaha. I'm not armed. Do they have to manhandle me?
On questioning the pastor about the incident, this is all he had to say.
At the moment, no comments. No comments. No comments.
The disruption and protests did not affect the wedding, as Alex and his new wife stepped out of the church married. The groom and his new bride posed for photos, smiling ear to ear. Alex and his new wife left the church to start off their new life. And Anne perhaps to try and stop it or at least set things right, or maybe just carry on with her life. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
It's never a dull moment in the 254, my friends. Let's take our first short break on NTV Weekend Edition. And let me show you some pictures, live shots of the Nations Center. We are still celebrating 60 years since the company was founded in 1960. We are going to be celebrating, of course, for a while, as we celebrate the hallmark that Nation Media Group has achieved, 60 years of nothing but bold and authoritative journalism. And we will keep doing so until, the end of time. Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, they say when it rains, it pours. Fewer statements can better summarize what Olympic 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop is going through with a seemingly endless cycle of drama. NTV's Aida Waringa looks at the latest spectacle in the troubled athlete's life.
Former Olympic and World 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop is a troubled man. Barely 1 week after he received a 4-year ban for testing positive for the banned substance EPO, it seems the pain and humiliation has reached its peak. Kiprop took to his social media threatening to use his firearm to seek justice. He also asked the National Police Service to relieve him of his duties and demanded that IAAF retrieve the medals he won in previous races. Fellow high-profile athlete and friend Julius Yego then took to his Facebook, urging relevant parties to try and get a hold of the triple world champion, fearing that Kiprop might be suicidal. Regional Police Commander Edward Mwamburi informed NTV that a squad was dispatched to the Uasin Gishu home of the 29-year-old and that he had still not been found as of the airing of this story. It's not the first time, however, that Kiprop has courted controversy on the internet. Months after he tested positive for EPO, a lewd video and pictures emerged of the administration police officer kissing and groping a half-naked female companion in his car. Kiprop's ban has been backdated from February 3rd, 2018, but he will have an opportunity to appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Aida Waringa, NTV.
Quite unfortunate for the 4-time world champion. We hope that he gets the help he needs immediately. Now, the Karen Hardy Police Station and the Stedmark Gardens Hotel in Karen face accusations of protecting an alleged sex predator. Jacqueline Waithera says the police and the hotel's management are protecting a Congolese national who allegedly attempted to rape her. This happened during her 1-month service at the hotel. Her efforts to get her keys before a court of law have been, in her words, impossible. NTV's Charity Mwangi reports.
The tough life of a spa attendant, the intimacy of the treatments, the privacy involved may at times render the workers vulnerable, as happened to Jacqueline Waithera Shege. At the Stedmark Hotel on Saturday 20th April at 10 a.m., Waithera says a guest of the hotel by the name Alphonse Bemba walked into her massage room.
Nikamwingiza ndani mahali kuna change, kuna wardrobe hapo ndani ya kuchange. Nikampeleka ndani, nikampea towel na gown. Nikamwambia ubadilishe nguo zako, nikampatia a pant. Kuna pant yenye tunapatia clients wavae wasikae na pant yao, wakae na yetu. Nikampatia, nikamwambia you'll change into this one. So nikaondoka kwa hiyo room, nikakuja sasa kutayarisha mafuta. Benye nilikaa hapo, akamaliza kuchange. Alikuja tu, hakuvaa gown, alikuwa na short yake, sasa hata hakuvaa yetu. Alikuja na yake, bila gown, bila towel.
What followed, according to Waithera, was an indecent proposal that went from casual to life-threatening.
Alinirusha kwa kiti. Hapo kuna kiti, nina kagonga kiti, akachukua pants zangu, akazitoa. So mimi niliavoid hata kuscream. Juu hata ningescream kabisa, tuko wawili kwa hii room, sisi wawili peke yetu. And then kuna gate. And then sasa before yule mtu mwingine mwenye next yako, huyu mtu before afike, mimi niliona huyu mtu anaweza ninyongea hapo ndani.
She raised the alarm by making a discreet call to her boss. The boss never came to her aid. She managed to escape, albeit with minimal clothing. NTV visited Stedmark for a response to the issue. They insinuated that Waithera had brokered a deal with the client, but they failed to agree on the payment.
He was supposed to come, amuulize na kuja massage. Umeelewa? Msichana alikuwa amwambie go to the swimming pool, pay and come with the receipt. Umeelewa? So he alimwarau in kwa massage room without a receipt.
He said that they, however, did refer the matter to the police at the Hardy police station, maintaining that that's the extent of their responsibility according to hospitality and acceptable practice.
Us, we had nothing, because we don't want her to suffer na request yetu. We also want na ikuwe alimframe na ikuwe the truth. You get? So we want just justice for everybody. Akuwe kama Beba was really for that. I had done.
colleagues sent footage of the infamous client checking out of the hotel to Waithera, which caused the seemingly traumatized spa attendant more grief. She tells us that the colleague who sent her that clip was fired, raising her fears of a cover-up.
We are fired, but not because of that. Other reasons. Not one, not two. About 4 people we have fired. Because when it comes to that or the other misconduct, we fire.
A 5-month pregnant Waithera has retreated to her rural home in Kijabe, where she is recovering. She accuses the police of protecting her foreign attacker. She says the hotel should have done a better job of protecting her.
If another client comes in just like that, huyo msichana auliwe hapo ndani, ama anyongewe hapo ndani juu amekataa, ama ripiwe sasa afanywe hiyo act hapo ndani, what will be her justice? Nothing.
The alleged attack has not only robbed Waithera of her dignity, but also her livelihood, as she has never been able to work again since it happened. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Now, the late Jonathan Moi has been laid to rest at his Kabimoi home in Baringo County, with Deputy President William Ruto leading political leaders from across the political divide in consoling the family of the former president. NTV's Bridget Ngana was at the funeral service and filed this report.
At 11:15 this morning, the hearse bearing the remains of Jonathan Moi was ushered into the Kabarak grounds for his final send-off. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, who is also Jonathan's younger brother, taking the lead by reading retired President Moi's eulogy, which praised Jonathan's simplicity and charisma as a son and a public figure.
Each child is a very special chapter in a father's book. Jonathan, today you closed your chapter. I feel you close to my heart, and yet so far from our side.
Dear JT, I celebrate you as the best dad to our 4 children. You received them into the world as I lay helplessly on a theater table. You were there as they took their first step and taught them to ride bicycles and go-karts.
And seemingly taking the cue from church leaders who have strongly discouraged playing politics at the altar, politicians from the government and the opposition read from the same script.
But politics sometimes make us behave as if we are not part of one nation. But this opportunity, I would want to plead to the Kenyan people and the Kenyan nation, because we have this opportunity of being together here. I think this year may be a year when we can talk to each other as Kenyans and as a family and make this country the country that those who fought for it wanted it to be.
Those of us who are in politics and who come even from this community, we will never forget to follow in the footsteps of Mzee Moi, to push for the unity of our community, which was really a major thing he wanted, and to push for the unity of our country, that we become, you know, when Mzee Moi used to tell us peace, love, and unity, many people thought it was mchezo. But now this is one of the things we yearn for.
The late Jonathan succumbed to pancreatic cancer. Cancer is a disease whose late diagnosis or misdiagnosis continues to kill more than 30,000 Kenyans annually. The government is feeling the pressure to improve on the treatment and early detection of the disease.
I want to take this opportunity, even as you say bye to JT, to also call upon the nation to relook at our policy, because unless there's early diagnosis, early screening, then this disease will continue to take many more, and it will be very difficult for us to deal with it.
We have a duty and a responsibility as Kenyans to ensure that on a regular basis we go through screening, so that if you happen to have cancer in its early stages, it can be managed and we can save a lot of lives.
Only family and select invited guests and dignitaries were allowed at the burial grounds in Kabimoi for the deceased interment.
The late Jonathan Moi's final burial rites has seen the cooling of political temperatures in the country, with leaders from both sides saying that it is time the country unites for the sake of the country. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
May Jonathan's soul rest in eternal quiet. Let's take our second break on NTV Weekend Edition. When we come back, we tell you about a new political party which is in its formative stages in Mount Kenya region. Don't go too far. Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Let's now cover some politics. A group of politicians from the Mount Kenya region is in the process of forming a new political party to accommodate leaders who do not subscribe to the Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke political formations. Already a political party name has been reserved at the Registrar of Political Parties and a logo for the new party with red and blue colors released. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Muriithi has more details.
The push to have controlling interests in the Mount Kenya vote intensifies by the day, even as the region mulls President Kenyatta's exit, which leaves no clear leader. The region's leaders are divided as they seek political bearings. Team Tanga Tanga supports and spreads the William Ruto 2022 gospel, while Kieleweke, led by nominated MP Maina Kamanda, and Nyeri Town MP Ngonjiri Wambogo is spreading the anti-Ruto gospel. These groupings, mostly made up of political leaders from Mount Kenya, have been engaged in bare-knuckle battles for supremacy. A third group is in the formative stages and seeking to recruit politicians who are not in Kieleweke or Tanga Tanga. The target is about 40 MPs first, who are considered neutral. Those rooting for this are said to have reserved a political party name with the Registrar of Political Parties, with a deadline of 25th July for them to have registered it as a political party. The new outfit has been named Transformation National Alliance, reviving memories of the defunct the National Alliance, TNA. The party's symbol, an eagle with red and navy blue colors, has Kazi na Pesa as its slogan.
Politics is about interest. And there is nothing wrong with the region stamping its foot and saying we want to claim our stake in it.
A letter from the Registrar of Political Parties acknowledging the reserving of the name gives the owners of the party 90 days to follow regulations of registering a party in accordance with the Political Parties Act of 2011.
That would never be party to us taking back the gains that we have had going back to form regional and ethnic political parties.
Those behind the party believe their membership of the Jubilee Party and the exit of some of the key political luminaries in the Mount Kenya region at the 2017 elections made the region vulnerable and it lacks serious political clout.
It is the first time since 1992, and it will be exactly 30 years in 2022 without a very clear direction. Even in 92, when we had Kibaki and Matiba, there was certainly, some sort of, concrete direction, divided as we were. But this time it is mulumuluwas in Mount Kenya.
Those are self-seekers.
They also want the region to once more be in the driver's seat with relation to bargaining for their stake ahead of the 2022 elections.
Any voice that comes for the unity of our region, and I want to underline, the unity first, charity begins at home. It must start with the unity of the region so that I'm able to preach for the unity of the nation.
Some advocating for the new outfit believe the DP has not come out clearly to spell out the terms of engagement with the Mount Kenya region, and that will easily expose them and lead to their getting a raw deal.
I'm looking forward for a voice, for a movement, for people who come together with an agenda of working together as a team.
There's no concrete that cements me to Jubilee. I'm there for the time being. If I get a better option or a better offer tomorrow, who knows?
The party currently has 6 interim officials drawn from different parts of the country with room for expansion. However, there is the headache of marshalling 24,000 signatures, 1,000 per county, in at least 24 counties, which is a key requirement for actualizing the political party. There are those of the feeling that these numerous attempts to create factions within the Mount Kenya region will only work against them, as they will not be speaking in one voice, thus giving a political opponent an opportunity to divide them. Kennedy Muriithi, NTV in Mombasa County.
An interesting turn of events there. Now, the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, has finally given in to efforts by the government to implement the 1.5% house levy on all employees. COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has accused the Federation of Kenyan Employers, FKE, of inciting workers to reject the fund levy. Atwoli claims that he had secured a deal with the government to have all employees given a 15% salary increment before the government starts deducting the levy from the employees' salaries.
Federation of Kenya Employers. Nilisikia ile mama sasa anajifanya champion kwa 1.5. Yeye anajifanya tangu lini paka na panya walikuwa marafiki? Mimi nilifanya mpango pole pole kama kiongozi wenu, na ikawafikia ya kwamba kesho kutwa hii president angeli announce 15% general wage increase, 15% kwa everybody. Wakasikia hiyo, sasa wana insight nyinyi. Sisi tumesema ukitaka kuchukua 1.5% tupatie 15% on top of our salary. Hiyo 1.5 hapana kitu.
15% is quite tempting, but as to whether it will come to fruition is another story altogether. Now, the Nation Media Group has been marking its 60th anniversary since Friday with a commitment by the group's top leadership to bold, authoritative and accountable journalism that has been the hallmark of the group for the last 60 years. Those invited were treated to a spectacular visual of fireworks show that lit up the night sky. Nation Media Group is the largest media house, obviously, in East and Central Africa, as Helen Wanjohi tells us.
The skies above Nairobi's central business district were lit up by an unveiling fireworks display on Friday night. This as the nation's media group's top leadership, members of staff, a select group of businessmen and stakeholders, as well as members of the public, gathered at the Nation Center to mark an important milestone in the history of East and Central Africa's largest media group. Besides the usual cake cutting, there was also a visual display with the Nation Center creatively lit. The visual show that had the company's colors highlighted the history of the Nation Media Group over the last 60 years, showing how the vision of His Highness the Aga Khan had grown into an institution where African voices are heard and stories are told from a Kenyan perspective. The 60th year anniversary celebrations ran under the theme True and Timeless to portray the company's mission of being a true, trusted and independent champion of society.
The Nation Media Group has much to be proud of. We opened our doors 6 decades ago. We were just a small newspaper. The chairman refers it, small things as Mickey Mouse. But today, we have grown into the largest multimedia house in East and Central Africa, with operations in print, broadcasting, digital, across all platforms.
But also to commit that we'll continue doing what we have been doing for the last 6 years, to be true partners of this country, to really look after the well-being of the welfare of the people of Kenya. I think that role is not properly understood, because sometimes when the government doesn't feel that we are supporting them, they get confused, because our role is really to do, our role and responsibility is to the people of Kenya.
Today, Nation stands tall in the media market, with presence in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, boosting a dominance in online media platforms with over 33 million followers. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
And still on that celebratory mood, it's of course 60 years of excellent journalism here at Nation Media Group. It started in 1960, a rich history that this company has. We bow our heads to those who came before us. Here now is the history of the Nation Media Group.
Fight our enemies.
Over the past 60 years, the history of the Kenyan nation has been intertwined with that of the Nation Media Group, whose story started with the acquisition of Taifa Leo newspaper in 1959 as the first Swahili newspaper publication in Kenya. Its leading newspapers in Kenya, both the Sunday Nation and the Daily Nation, were launched in 1960. A time when the world and Kenya were going through a great transition. It is during this time of political turbulence, struggle, and Pan-Africanism that the nation was born. His Highness Aga Khan founded NMG on March 20th, 1960 as the voice of the majority African population. In 1999, NMG launched a television station, NTV, in Kenya. At 60 years, the multimedia house with print, radio, television, and electronic platforms is the largest in East and Central Africa. Over the years, NMG has spread its presence in Africa.
Yes.
In Kenya, Nation newspaper division publishes daily and weekend editions of Nation, the Kiswahili Daily Taifa Leo, the East African, and Business Daily. In Uganda, through its subsidiary Monitor Publications, NMG publishes the Daily Monitor and Sunday Monitor and runs KFM radio station and NTV Uganda. In Tanzania, through Mwananchi Communications Limited, NMG publishes the Kiswahili newspapers Mwananchi and Mwanaspoti. NMG now boasts dominance in online media platforms, attracting over 33 million followers.
Nation Media Group was
In 2016, in order to improve the quality of its newspapers and print products, NMG invested 2 billion shillings in a new modern state-of-the-art printing press in Nairobi with a capacity to print 86,000 newspapers per hour. Currently, the group is adjusting to the revolutionary age of digital disruption and changing consumer patterns as it seeks to invest about 200 million shillings in new digital infrastructure and assets.
Promise to stay true to you.
Over the years, NMG has strived to remain true to its values as the media of Africa for Africa. Vincent Odur, NTV.
Happy 60th birthday, Nation Media Group. Now, let me read something for you real quick regarding a story we had on Asbel Kiprop up there. IG Hilary Mutiambai says the National Police Service is arranging for counseling for the athlete. He says that he presented himself at Kapseret police station as officers were looking for him to disarm him. And thereafter he was handed over to his brothers. We hope that the police service do actually, find counseling for Kiprop to just make sure that he's safe after all that he has done for this country. Let's take a break. When we come back, something exciting we are introducing on Saturday. It's called History Saturday. You do not want to miss this.
You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat, strepsils. Gal in the sport.
Welcome back. Now we are introducing something on NTV Weekend Edition called History Saturday. You might learn a thing or two on this. And on this day in 1950, South Africa passed the Group Areas Act, formally segregating races. The apartheid, meaning partners in Afrikaans, governed relations between South Africans' white minority and non-white majority, and also sanctioned racial segregation and political and economic discrimination against non-whites. The act classified all South Africans as either Bantu, that is all black Africans, or colored, that is those of mixed race, and white. It established residential and business sections in urban areas for each race, and members of other races were barred from living, operating businesses, or owning land in them. Okay. On this day in 1961, the United Kingdom granted Sierra Leone independence. A year before, Sir Milton Magai led the Sierra Leonean delegation in the negotiations for independence at the constitutional conferences held with Queen Elizabeth II at Lancaster House in London. Britain agreed to grant Sierra Leone independence on 27th April 1961, and Sir Milton Magai became the country's first Prime Minister. Sierra Leone held its first general elections as an independent nation in May 1962. What a history that country has. And listen to this next one. On this day in 1509, Pope Julius II excommunicated the Italian state of Venice. The Pope announced his intention to reduce Venice to the status of, listen to this, a fishing village. Julius organized an alliance with King Louis VIII of France and the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I. Julius issued a ferocious papal edict that declared a solemn excommunication and interdict against Venice. This allowed any other state or person to attack Venice, to obstruct her traffic on land or sea, and to do her all possible harm. Must have been a ruthless pope, this one. And dust up your science textbooks for this. On this day in 4977 BC, the universe was created. This is according to German mathematician and astronomer Johannes Kepler, considered a founder of modern science. Kepler is best known for his theories explaining the motion of planets. He studied the theories of planetary ordering, which believed that the sun and not the earth was the center of the solar system. He held that planets move around the sun in ellipses, not circles, and that planets speed up as they approach the sun and slow down as they move away. In 1619, he produced his third law, which uses mathematics principles to relate the time a planet takes to orbit the sun to the average distance of the planet from the sun. Kepler's work influenced the likes of Isaac Newton. Remember that man, the one who supposedly sat under a mango tree and discovered gravity, blah, 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 blah. Yep, that's him. I'm sure you have learned something. I'm not sure about the last one because it's pure science. I did not learn anything from that either. Now, on Sunday morning, all eyes will be traded on the streets of the English capital for London Marathon. The big boss of Marathon is in the land of Her Majesty the Queen, ready to claim his 4th win in London. With a world marathon record of 2 hours, 1 minute and 39 seconds, Eliud Kipchoge knows he is the man to beat, so much so that everything he touches obeys him. In this clip, he posted on Twitter with the caption, "Good morning, Your Majesty." Have a look at how he opened the curtains at the London hotel like the boss he is. Win the London Marathon on Sunday morning, I think from 11 a.m. Warodha Kiru has those details in sports after this break.
in the Sugar Derby, beating host Chemlin Sugar 2-1. Jackson Duang was a hero for Nzoia, scoring twice to gift new coach Godfrey Odor his first win. This as Edwin Lavatsa scored late for Kakamega Homeboys to secure a 1-1 draw against KCB, and Sony Sugar were 2-0 winners over hosts Western Steamer. Meanwhile, Posta Rangers have forced a 1-1 draw against Karabangi Sharks. In the peak of Sunday's action, AFC Leopards face Bandari, Sofapaka take on Mathare United. Both matches will be in Machakos.
First half we started very slow and given Gormaya a lot of room. Lack of communication and then no urgency. We didn't play well first half.
I knew we was going to get result with first half. And second half was very comfortable. And I knew it was going to affect us second half. And it did actually.
Two of the very expressive coaches in the KPL, that's Robert Matano and Hassan Oktoy. On to women's football, and Gaspo Youth edged out Mathare United women 1-0 in one of the 4 FKF Women Premier League matches played this afternoon. Elizabeth Wamboi struck the all-important goal that takes a Kiambu-based side to 27 points from their 9 opening matches. Kisumu All-Stars walloped Spedberg 10-0 in Kisumu, while Oserian Ladies managed a 5-2 win over visiting Soccer Queens. 4 matches will be played Sunday, among them a blockbuster pitting Thika Queens against Vihiga Queens at the Thika Stadium.
Kila timu inakuja imejipanga, but point start at the end of the day pia ni muhimu.
Yes, 3 points are very important in a game of football. It is 44 days to the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt, and discussions are heating up regarding which striker Harambee Stars coach Sebastian Minye should include in his AFCON squad. One name that is generating a lot of buzz online and offline is veteran Dennis Oliech. We took to the streets of Nairobi to gauge opinion on Kajole's AFCON chances.
We are here on the streets of Nairobi and we're asking the hottest sporting question in town right now. Dennis Oliech and the national team. We want to know, what do people think? Does he deserve a call-up?
Dennis Oliech kweli, kwa kusema kweli, nafikiri amejaribu sana kutuletea sifa Kenya. Jina lake hilo ambalo hanalo kweli inafanana na yeye mwenyewe.
Mimi naona tu yako tu sawa. Akijoin the team pia, umejua team pia inakuwa ni jina. Wakiona tu mseka Oliech juu akona experience. So unaona kwa player pia ukiona msemo mwenye akona experience amecheza magame mob, pia unacheki inakuwa tu sawa.
Naona kwamba asitwe kwenye kikosi sababu ameitimiza mengi, amecheza sana. Pia kuna wachezaji wengine wabunifu wanaotaka kucheza, so pia wapewe nafasi katika kikosi.
Yeah, I think he should be given a chance to go to the Cup of Nations. I mean, his experience that he can also represent our country. If they are young, upcoming, or not able to do so, or maybe they're not qualified, then we should give Dennis Oliech a chance. I don't see any reason why we should deny him that chance.
Si mbaya, Oliech akicheza sahi ni experience, ni player na experience. Anaweza sahi. Unajua vijana wa sahi hawako serious sana, unaona?
Nampenda Oliech sana. Oliech ni kijana wa nyumbani, tunajifunia yeye. Na game yake at least iko juu, so tactics zenye amegeni huko nje tunataka asilete kwa timu yetu ya Kenya at least, na sisi tusikie we have someone who is a mentor.
Contrasting opinions right there, and you can get in on the action. #TopSport on social media. And the London Marathon goes down tomorrow morning with world marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge gunning for 4th title, as is Mary Keitany. Ahead of the race, athletic pundits gave their predictions on Kenya's premier sports show, TopSport, from Eldoret, which is the city of champions.
On paper, Eliud Kipchoge is a red-hot favorite.
For the women?
For the women, between Mary Keitany and Vivian, I'm torn between.
You're torn between, eh?
Maybe either Kipchoge,
Eliud Kipchoge for the men,
or Daniel Wanjiru. And then in the ladies category, there's a silent lady called Bridget Kosgei.
Oh, and you've been rooting for her the whole week.
Yeah.
For women, I'm rooted for this young one here, Bridget Kosgei. Bridget Kosgei. Oh,
but
interesting. She has 2
I'm
votes.
also seeing Vivian. Vivian in some way.
Okay.
But Bridget can do it.
The race revs off at around 11 a.m. Sunday morning, and the last regional final of the Chapa Dimba Safaricom football tournament concludes tomorrow at the Nairobi Gymkhana grounds. This as Afro-Varsity 3x3 basketball challenge jumped off at the USIU Africa Basketball Court, and the first edition of the AK Masters National Cross Country was held in Eldoret. Let's get details of these and more in our local sports roundup.
Jericho All-Stars will face South B United from Starehe in the Nairobi region final of the Chapa Dimba na Safaricom football tournament. In the boys' semis, Jericho beat Kasarani's Bright Star Academy 2-1, while Langata's South B United saw off Uweza FC 2-0. In the girls' category, Carolina for Kibera FC plays Akakora Ladies in the final. Carolina for Kibera booked their ticket after edging Dagoretti Mixed School 4-3 in post-match penalties, while Akakora Ladies from Kasarani were 4-1 winners against County Queens from Makadara.
Game imekuwa challenging, especially venye tulipata red, but hatuku give up. Tulijua endurance na fitness yetu yenye tulikuwa tumetrain nayo itatusustain.
I'm really proud because, you know, as the team captain and also as the goalkeeper, it was not that easy, and I believe that's the position that iko most tricky, of which any mistake inakuwa bao.
John Chepkwony and Leonita Agatha are the winners of the first edition of the AK Masters National Cross Country held in Eldoret. 82-year-old Chepkwony won the 8-kilometer race ahead of 76-year-old Joel Kirui, while 75-year-old Henry Kano finished third. In the women's category, Priscilla Biwot was second behind Agatha, with Grace Chebet third. In the 35 to 39 years category, Richard Lagat and Emmy Getich were victorious.
Cross country ni mara ya kwanza mimi kuwa namba moja. Sijai nakuanga namba 30. Leo nikasema nitang'ang'ana mpaka nichukue namba moja.
Saa 4 tukaanza. Hasa nilienda na mwenzangu mwenye alikuwa namba 2 wangu mpaka 3K. Ndio akaanza kulemewa, nikapita sasa yeye kwa sababu alikuwa mbele yangu. Mimi nikaenda nikamaintain pace yangu kwa sababu nilikuja kama mazoezi. Sikuwa nimejipangilia. Nilikuwa natoka leave.
10 teams from Africa are competing in the third edition of the Afro Varsity 3x3 Basketball Challenge that's being held at the USIU Africa Basketball Court. In the men's category, Senegal's ISEG and Uganda's Makerere University will meet in the first semi-final, while Uganda's XGN University and host USIU Africa will clash in the second semi. In the women's event, ISEG of Senegal face their counterparts UNIDAF, and Uganda's XGN University play University of Nairobi.
Let's cross the borders, and Tottenham Hotspur suffered their first defeat at their new stadium after Michael Antonio gave West Ham